Okay, so the map is ESV Muspelheim, spawning up here in the top left corner, representing Team Fusion Slugs. We do have Zeb, our Terran player, and spawning down here in the bottom right hand corner we have our orange Terran player, and his name is Metastatic, representing Team mGG. Now it's going to be interesting to see how this map plays out. I was saying a little earlier, for those of you that weren't listening, I haven't actually seen many games played on this map, if any at all. So it's going to be interesting. I know it was added into the map pool for this tournament quite late. But I think it was used by 1 or 2 games last week and they said it went alright, so we'll see what happens. I have absolutely no idea what that means, but I'm sure someone does. So you do see both players just getting started here, scouting SCV, leaving for Metastatic. But it's going to take a while to actually get this game rolling. But we'll see what happens. Barracks on the way for Zeb. Metastatic yet to start his. So this could be some sort of proxy. He's checking the watchtower, so would not surprise me. As that SCV keeps going across the map. Zeb's barracks almost done, so it could be a command center first actually, in hindsight. That would make more sense. On this map, it is a command center first. So it is a big map, so he will have time to get that up and running without too much risk. Zeb's barracks has finished and he has put up the first marine on the way and a second depot. So he has completed that wall. That scouting SCV isn't going anywhere. Is it going to go down anytime soon? I don't know, but when that marine pops it will go down very quickly. Orbital on the way for Zeb, and there is first blood, the marine getting the kill. We do see Metastatic throwing down 2 racks in his main. He's looking to take that early economic lead by taking the command center first. We do see a scouting SCV on the way for Zeb, on the way to Metastatic's base. He will see that command center, and then it'll be up to him to decide what he wants to do. Whether he'll go and try and punish Metastatic for being greedy, or if he will try and play catch up in the economy. He is throwing down that command center. So this is going to be a... Oh no, he's changed his mind. No, he hasn't changed his mind. Okay, so it is a 1 rack 6 expand from Zeb. So it looks like both players content to play a macro game. So TVT is going to be interesting. We do see gas being taken for Zeb. So he's going to have that tech earlier than Metastatic, although there is double gas on the way for Metastatic, just as I say that. On the same page. But both players definitely look content to play that macro game. Metastatic is going to have a little bit of an advantage in the economy, purely by the fact he got that command center up earlier, and it's already in orbital. And Zeb's hasn't even finished yet, but it is on the way. We do see this SCV on the way down. I don't know if he's going to proxy something or if he's just scouting for a third. It's a really early scout for a third if it is, but looks like he has something in mind. We do see the tech lab going down for Zeb. He'll be able to get those all important bio upgrades if he's choosing to go bio, which by the number of racks it does look like he will. We could see that marine tank style of play that has become also common in Terran vs Terran. At the same time, Metastatic also throwing down his tech lab and that factory, and an engineering bay as well. Spending his resources well early on, it's good to see. So it's very passive so far. We do see Stim on the way for Zeb. And both players playing very comfortably at home, just focusing on their economy. That scouting SCV is going to go down. But yeah, it's going to be very passive. But late game TVT, also very passive, but you do get to see a lot of strategy behind late game TVT, which is really interesting. a lot of strategical tank positioning, one wrong engage and you can lose the game. It's quite brutal. But we do see +1 infantry weapons on the way for Metastatic. Both those stims roughly the same time. And we also see a starport on the way for Metastatic, so he will get those medibacks out first. Look at the units tab. We do see Metastatic with that commanding economic lead with 37 SCVs to the 25 of Zeb, largely because of that much earlier command center, which he was really quite able to do on this map just due to the size of the distance. You saw how long it took the scouting SCV to get all the way into Zeb's base, but we'll see what happens as the game goes on, but that is quite a significant SCV lead. Zeb does have both his command centers going now, building those SCVs. All important to get that saturation up at his main. He does have 2 gas geysers going. Excuse me. Metastatic is up to 4 now, just starting to saturate those gas geysers. So he will be able to get his tech out much quicker, but if he is choosing to go that bio tank style, which he is, the gas isn't quite as important. Terran tend to have a shortage of minerals as the game wears on, if you macro correctly, and are spending all those resources. All those all-important mules. Spending that energy on those orbitals, good to see. Look at the income tab, you can see the difference in income is not very much, but there is a significant gas advantage to Metastatic because he has those 2 extra geysers. Now we do see siege tech on the way for Metastatic. He is going to have those tanks out much earlier. Zeb not even choosing to build a tech lab on that factory. Again, right as I said, he does it just on the same page. But Metastatic also has those SCVs on the way. We see +1 armor on the way for Metastatic as those tanks continue to roll out. We do see quite a large supply lead for Metastatic at the moment. He does have about a 15 supply lead, which largely is in SCVs, but as the game goes on, that's going to translate to a much larger army value. So both players just macroing up comfortably at home. Although here we go, Metastatic starting to push out. He's built an orbital command, or he's building an orbital command at home as well, so he's going to take that 3rd behind it, but this army is going to push out slowly now. If he can get a good position, Zeb might be in a little bit of trouble here. He does not have that siege tech upgrade, it's about half done. He also has no siege tanks to help with the defensive positioning. At the same time, we do see Zeb loading up some dropships, so he could be able to do some damage to Metastatic's base as that 3rd is being taken for Metastatic. The army is going to see these dropships, and if he's not careful, he's going to get them both. The army's like, oh no, he does turn around and snipes both of those loaded dropships. That is brutal for Zeb. That is really not what you want to happen, particularly without siege tanks and siege tech. So Metastatic is in complete control here. He's getting his tanks into good positions, one on the high ground. Nice and spread, and Zeb is in a lot of trouble here. He's already behind after the early game. We do see a drop coming into the main as he moves in with his army. Metastatic trying to bait those marines into the tank line. And he is going to try and test Zeb's multitasking here with the drop at the same time. And he is going to snipe the supply at depots, and Zeb is moving his army back, which is going to allow Metastatic to push his tanks forward. The stim coming. Is he going to snipe the meta dropship? No, it just gets out. 18 health on that dropship. So while all this is going on, Metastatic has got his 3rd up and running. He's building some supply depots because he has supply blocked himself. But he has a significant economic lead. He's mining off 3 bases now. He has 8 extra SCVs, and those are going to translate into a lot of extra production. He does have this army here that's not really doing anything. He should try and siege those tanks somewhere and get into a nice position. But he does have a pretty effective contain at the moment. It's up to him to decide what he wants to do next. We do see that +2 armor on the way for Metastatic, while Zeb just getting +1 now. But he is finally getting some tanks out, which is going to help with his defense. Both players struggling to spend their resources at the moment. I would suggest that they build some more production facilities. So we do see Metastatic moving his tanks into position on the high ground. He's going to get some nice, trying to get the best position he possibly can. We do see scans going down, trying to figure out what's going on from both players. And this is the positioning of TBT I was talking about earlier. There's a lot of strategy going behind it. You have to try and figure out what you want to achieve with your army. You have to try and remember what the opponent is trying to do as well. So we do see the Marines leaving that bunker just as it dies. And Zeb is going to make a run into the siege tank line. He's stimming, but I don't think this is a great idea. Metastatic's Marines are going to be able to clean this up quite comfortably. I think Metastatic is just going to push in and take the game here. But he does have to worry about those 2 tanks. I do see a drop onto the tanks by Metastatic, but it is not quite effective. The drop does get sniped, and I don't know if that was the best move by Metastatic. He could have just held the contain if he wanted to, or he could have pushed in and I think just about won, but went for the drop, didn't quite pay off, and Zeb is back into this game. Metastatic does still manage to hold the contain though with those siege tanks, and Zeb is unfortunately contained to 2 base, which if we have a look, his main is starting to get mined out. His natural has still got a fair bit there, but not as much as he would like. We do see a lot more production facilities going down for Metastatic. He's trying to spend those resources now. He does have a 4th command center up and running, which he could move. Instead he's building another one, that's fine. He's taking a significant economic advantage in this game. We do see a 24 SCV lead. The only problem for Metastatic is because his economy is so booming, he needs to build a lot more racks to keep up with the production, or more factories or starports depending on what he chooses to go, but we are seeing 2 more starports on the way. We're also seeing +1 vehicle weapons and +1 weapons for +2 weapons for his bio, excuse me. So he does have an upgrade advantage as well as an economic advantage, and he's in a very dominant position at the moment. Zeb really needs to figure out a way of how he can break this contain. He needs to do something to take the control away from Metastatic, try and put him on the back foot, be it a drop around the side of the map or a single Banshee to try and put some pressure on those tanks. He needs to try and do something, because he is behind and his resources are running out. We do see a lot of SCVs mining those mineral patches. Do see a small bio contingent for Metastatic moving out across the map now to meet up with his contain, which he is now backing off. Meanwhile, the army of Zeb is moving around to the top right hand side of the map, sorry. So that 4th command center is now finished for Metastatic. He has a lot of minerals. I'm talking a lot of minerals. Really needs to try and start spending those minerals. We do see Zeb's army moving around here. Meanwhile, there's a drop going on in the main with the tanks on the low ground. That's going to do a lot of damage. We could end up seeing a base race because Zeb's army is way too out of position, but I don't know if he's going to have enough to actually get in and kill Metastatic. Meanwhile, Metastatic is sniping production facilities. He does take that factory. Is he going to know the medivacs are going to get out of the starport just in time? At the same time, we do see Zeb's army moving in on Metastatic's natural, sniping the remaining men there, but this is going to turn into a base race, I think. And I think Metastatic is just going to be able to win it. The Marines are going to town now. We do have some idle Marines there that could be doing more useful things, but they're not. Tanks at the back are sieged up for Zeb. He should try and move them forward, I think. He needs as many of his units to be doing damage as possible. We do see some units there for Metastatic on the ramp. The tanks are going to siege and start going to town on those Marines. At the same time, the natural is going down for Zeb. There's the GG, and game 1 goes to Metastatic and Team mGG. Okay, apparently it's better, so we'll see how we go. So, spawning up here on the top right side of WCS Daybreak, we have, representing Fusion Slugs, their second player. It is Eagle. And spawning on the bottom left side of the map, we have taking game number 1 against Zeb. We have Metastatic, the orange Terran player from Team mGG. Now it's going to be interesting to see what strategies they employ. What do you reckon, Alpha?
Definitely, as everyone knows, it's Daybreak. It's a great macro map, so it'll be good to see again, if they're going to be going for macro games. If so, if they're going just with the standard marine tank that most people prefer at this level. It seems to be the easier way to go.
Yeah, I think so. I think Metastatic might try that same command center first. I mean, it does look like quite a small distance between the two naturals, but it's actually quite a long distance as you have to weave your way around.
Yeah, with that middle road being closed, having to go all the way up and then all the way down.
Yeah, that's it.
Takes quite a while to get across the map. So what did Meta open with the beginning of last game, since I missed that?
Last game he went command center first, which actually really just ended up winning the game for him. Zeb started with a 1 Rax expand, which we do see both players throwing down their racks, so it could be 1 Rax expands from both, which would make it a much more even game. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to see what opening stage chooses. We can see Meta's deciding to go for the blocking as ramp, trying to deny any sort of real scouting. Once he gets that blocked off, well, Eagles will be kept open, so Meta will have the chance to be able to run SCVs in and have a look around at what he's doing.
That's it. Is he going to get that depot down in time? The SCV is on its way, and he does have one building, but I think it's just going to not go off in time. No, the SCV is going to get in.
Yeah, he decided to wait for the SCV to finish the barracks instead of sending a second one, which would have been able to block it.
Yeah.
And see, he's actually continued making SCVs instead of getting his orbital straight away, so there you go, he cancelled that SCV so he could finish that SCV, and it looks like Eagle's positioning to get a command center dropped, so going for that 1 Rax gasless expand.
Does look that way. I mean, if he did manage to get that depot down, it would have made it a lot harder for Eagle to actually know what was going on. He wouldn't have had those gas timings that he is now going to see. And that SCV is still in the base, but that Marine will take care of it now.
Yep. See if he closes the wall in time. Okay, so we got Meta did see Eagle's expansion down at the natural. We got Eagle's point of view. He doesn't have confirmation of the expansion, but he did see that there was no gas taken and only 1 Rax in the base, so it'd be safe enough to assume that for now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're going to see both players settle in nicely to that macro style once again. We do see a bunker going up at Eagle's natural, which is going to provide a little bit of protection if Metastatic tries anything funny. But I don't think he will.
Yeah. Well, it's both going down. Starting to drop some command centers by both players, Meta getting 2 and Eagle getting an extra 1 so far. So far, SCV and Marine counts are pretty much the same, but Eagle choosing to throw down 2 gases, and Meta puts down his first gas at the same time, and both gases, so right now pretty much identical builds, except for Meta choosing to do 2 barracks instead of 1.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty identical from both players.
Eagle's natural expansion is a fair bit faster, which will give him that small economical boost for a while, but Meta has been keeping up with his SCV production a bit better, so he's got the numbers to be able to keep up with that small little advantage that Eagle gave himself.
Yeah, so we do see now that orbital has finished, it's pretty much even with that SCV count. As you said, those mules are going to balance that out. But I mean, it's going to stay pretty equal for the whole game until something drastic happens. As they continue the same builds, not much is going to change.
Yeah, we have to keep an eye on how well they keep up that SCV production, because that's the thing with mirror matches, you forget to make a couple SCVs while your opponent does it, and you can get so far behind, because in this you don't have that huge mule advantage, because your opponent has it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now we do see a slight variation here. Eagle has thrown down 2 reactors on his barracks, and Metastatic has chosen to throw down a tech lab instead. So he's going to get that stim upgrade considerably earlier, as well as combat shields if he chooses. We do see the tech lab going down now for Eagle. And at the same time we also see a factory on the way for Metastatic, so he's going to take that tech advantage slightly earlier.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge tech advantage that he's getting with that, and that stim timing, as you said, is going to be so much further ahead. He'll have a huge window that we'll have to see if he takes advantage of it, where he'll be able to do a lot of damage, but with the reactors, Eagle will have a huge number of Marines.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that.
I mean, Metastatic has seen that Eagle did go reactors on both of those barracks. Which means if he does choose to try and hit some timing, he should know that they won't have stim or combat shield. So it is an option.
And Eagle deciding to go for combat shield as he throws down his first starport. And a starport just going down for meta as well. So once again, even if you look at the supply, it's 52 to 59. With that, Eagle having the reactor and Meta having the tech advantage, but still their supply is, you know, off by 2 or 3, so it's damn even. After 8 minutes 30 in the game, the worker count's basically the same and the Marine count's just got a slight advantage to Eagle.
Yeah, it's scary how close this is, like, almost identical to each other.
Yeah, they're swapping around the orders of a couple things, but even now it's still been staying the same.
Yeah. I mean, there was like maybe a second between the two starports finishing there.
And even their eBays are about to once again finish within the same second of each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Something I have to say about Eagle's placement on his factory, I'm pretty sure that a tech lab or reactor wouldn't be able to fit in that little gap there, will it?
No, it
So
won't.
he'll have to lift it and move it again. Something that he has to like be aware of when he's placing his buildings down. And I didn't see if he needed to lift his barracks, but I thought they were pretty damn close to having to lift because he's deciding to build them acrosswards instead of the normal vertical that Meta's been doing with the vertical, which makes it a lot easier for placing the tech labs and reactors.
Yeah, I mean, that building placement is quite important. I think it'll have the factory anyway. I don't think it'll have too much of an impact on the game because Metastatus was floating that whole time, so he has to go and land it anyway. But you are right. I mean, it does make a difference if you do have to, you know, take that extra few seconds to lift off that building and fly it to somewhere else, as we do see Eagle doing now.
Yeah, as we see, Eagle's doing a big push out with his, you know, huge chunk of Marines, and he is getting his stim up at the moment, but you know that does take a long time to upgrade, so it'll be a while. But they will drop that factory damn quick. But that's showing Meta where the Marines are.
Indeed, it is, and we do see a stim coming in from Meta.
Yeah, very big premature stim, trying to chase them, but the stim was way too early for only 2 medivacs.
So they are going to waste all their energy healing those Marines back up.
Same time, we see Eagle's got a nice turret ring set up around his base, while Meta has not, and a dropship is getting positioned down in the bottom right, looking like it's getting ready to go drop Meta. But Meta is sending a dropship into the top, so he'll really need to keep an eye on it, because right now the flight path is sending it straight over 2 turrets, so he's going to lose that if he's not paying attention.
I think that's a very good read from Eagle. After that factory got sacrificed, you know there's not going to be siege tanks, or if there are, there's not going to be many. So he knows he's committing to that heavy bio style. As we do see a drop coming in here from Eagle. It's only got a few Marines in it, but they are going to snipe some SCVs. The SCVs are pulled, and the
At the same time, the dropship is coming into Eagle's base now, flying straight into the turrets, and Meta is not reacting.
No.
So
Oh no! Oh, it goes down.
All of the Marines are full Marine. The drop inside Meta's base did get cleaned up, but Eagle is taking a pretty significant lead at the moment with 108 supplied to Meta to 120 for Eagle.
4 SCVs killed there for Eagle. And that was painful, I think, for Metastatic, losing that dropship full of Marines.
Yeah, I think it took more damage from losing his drop than he did than the damage he received from Eagle's drop. On the plus side, Meta does have his 3rd command center built and ready, while Eagle's only just starting to make it now. Worker count's still pretty much even. And as you said, Meta's deciding to go for that full bio composition this game.
Yeah.
Which, in general, the Marine tank will be better than the Marauder Marine for the most part.
Yeah, it really comes down to the engage. So,
Control.
Control. They need to make sure that those units aren't clumped up, because if they're clumped up, the tanks will do a lot of damage. At the same time, if we look at the upgrades, Eagle does have a slight upgrade advantage. Not quite yet, but he's about to. His +1 armor is about to finish. Both players have that +1 weapons as well.
Yeah, I think now is really the time that Meta needs to send that third command center down because he's just mining through his two bases just way too fast.
Right
with
on
the
cue.
mules and higher CV count. But at the same time, we can see Meta's doing a little bunker block down at the third, which I just love. So he'll be able to, one, block it, but two, also see the timing of that expansion.
It's really clever.
And when it comes in trouble, just salvage and you lose 25 minerals.
Exactly.
So, some good scouting by Eagle is going to see this command center the moment it drops. And we'll have to see if he decides to try charging straight into it. Well, but it looks like Meta's going to be charging down, heading into Eagle's concave.
Those tanks at the back weren't stimmed, so Eagle's tech advantage is going to get eroded here as Metastatic is pushing forward, but I don't think he quite has enough. Eagle's +1 armor hasn't quite kicked in yet. Sorry, Metastatic's +1 armor.
Yeah, the higher marine count, the better concave, and then by the end of the fight, the siege tank being sieged up just made that battle very one-sided in Eagle's favor. As the large number of marines start to charge in. I think he's going to have to try and pull some SCVs here, which he's doing if he wants any chance. But he's deciding to run the SCVs away instead of help engage, so...
I'm not sure that was a great decision.
Yeah, this isn't looking very good for Meta at this stage, and I'm not sure if there's much he can do. He's going to try and see how many marines he can get out. Even if he does get them out, he has to push them down that very narrow ramp, so Eagle will have the great concave and the single siege tank, which is positioned perfectly in the range of that ramp.
I mean, even if Eagle doesn't want to, he doesn't actually have to push up that ramp at all. He can just sit his army there and expand behind it and take a massive lead.
Exactly. That little bunker down the bottom is causing a bit of problems for Eagle with a huge SCV train and the command center not being able to land, but even then I don't think it's enough. And it looks like Meta wants to try and go for a base race type thing, doing a big drop to see if he can get back in this camp, but he's just going to drop right on top of a huge number of marines. So I don't expect this to end very well for Meta.
No. I mean, there's an 80 supply or 70 supply differential in favour of Eagle, and he's just going to push in and clean this up here, I think.
The marines actually are doing really well, but he's so far behind, and Meta still, Eagle still has that bigger marine count and the siege tank, that one siege tank, is making it Eagle can control every engagement here.
He's trying to make something happen here, Eagle. I think he just needs to be patient. But he's going to steam in and clean up these marines here, I think.
Yeah, some really scrappy play from Meta, but it's just not going to be enough. Once they're able to take that natural unit, it's so hard to be able to come back at this stage of the game. If you look at his main, it's about to mine out. He's lost his third. So now it's just a waiting game to see how long it takes Eagle to break up that ramp and finish this game off.
That's it. He's comfortably mining from 3 bases. He's got a significant lead in harvesters, in army, just in everything really.
We see Meta just kind of still just trying as many units up as he can. Curious if he's going to try and go for some sort of counter-attack base race type thing. If you see he's got a huge number of medivacs just queued up and everything's just highly queued, but I don't think there's anything he can do at this stage, and he's about to finish mining out. He's got 150 rows in one patch, 20 on another patch, and 20 on the last one, so about 150 minerals all up left before he fully mines out, and the huge bank his had all game is about to run out.
It is kind of unfortunate. He's trying to do the best he can, trying to get something out of nothing here for his team, but I think it's a little too late scenario. You see a drop going on at Eagles 30. He's going to have to lift off, but he's going to send some Marines down to try and deal with that, and he should be able to clean it up.
Yeah, with these SUVs and the Marines, Marine count plus all the SUVs tanking, then they'll clean that up pretty quickly. Just have a look at the Marine count. It's 50 Marines from Meta to the 88 of Eagle, and 3 siege tanks, one of which is still just perfectly positioned on that choke point of the ramp. Okay, Meta's setting forward a single barracks to try and tank some damage, but once again his unit getting caught in that choke point.
Yeah, poor engage there from Meta. I think he really needs to either commit or not commit to an attack. You can't sit on the ramp like that, you'll just get mowed down, unfortunately.
I think the best way that he could try and engage this, and I don't think he would still win, but I think the very best is to lift all his units into the medevac and try and like surround, try and get them into position without Eagle noticing. But if you look, Eagle's got everything spread out. If you just go into Eagle's point of view, there's such a nice map presence that he can see almost all the map. Nothing's going to be sneaking past him.
Yeah, for sure.
But, there is no way that meta can push down that ramp against the siege tank and the Marines concaves that they're going to have.
But meta does actually have a slight upgrades advantage for the next 60 seconds or so. He does have his +2 armor finished, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. He does have his SCVs there. Looks like he's going to commit to one last attack. Maybe no. He's turning around.
Yeah, looks like he's trying to get his workers across to the expansion just on the right of his base, but Eagle has seen that command center and he's sending some Marines to deal with it now as he expands himself. So that's one thing I am liking. Even though Eagle knows that he's got this game, he does continue to expand and macro behind it. He's not just going to take it for granted, oh, I've won this, and then just leave it and give meta any sort of chance of coming back. Eagle's staying up with his macro, he keeps expanding, keeps making workers and units.
And Metastatic is deciding to commit to an attack here, but it's not going to be enough. His army supply is just dwindling, and I think Eagle is going to take game number 2.
Yep, expecting the GG.
There it is.
There we go.
GG.